What's up? Dave Altizer, that's not what I say. What's cooking, everybody? Dave Altizer here with Kinotika. Today we are talking about the top 15 things about this small and tiny G1X Mark III. Number one, this thing is tiny. It's small and light. It's not even a pound. That is one of the reasons why you would get this thing, because compared to a big camera like this ginormous 1DC, obviously we have it in a ginormous rig. This thing is smaller and lighter than the monitor that's on this thing. So really small and light. Number two, the sensor in this thing is massive. This is an APS-C sized sensor, which is a first for this point and shoot line from Canon. The G1X Mark II before it had a 1-inch sensor along with all the other G cameras like the G5X and the G7X. But not only is this an APS-C size sensor, but this is actually the same sensor that's in the 80D along with all the other APS-C cameras from Canon. It's a 24.2 megapixel sensor, and having a sensor that's that large in a camera that's this tiny is really great. Number three is the built-in lens. For a lot of people that may be a downside, not being able to change the lenses, but if you look at it with the convenience of having a 24-70 equivalent lens on you at all times in a body that's this small, it actually is really amazing. On the wide end you get f2.8 and on the tight end it's a 5.6. But one thing that I was actually surprised to see on this camera that I haven't seen on any of the other point and shoot cameras is an actual filter thread. You get a 37mm filter thread, which is interesting. You can do a lot of things with that. Not only can you put ND and polarizers on here, but what I've done in the past by super gluing things to these cameras is actually putting a wide angle adapter on here or a teleconverter. You can screw in a cheap little wide angle adapter and it'll turn your 24mm into like a 16mm, which is perfect for those selfie shots. Having a filter thread on the camera is actually really interesting and opens up a lot of possibilities. Number four is 14-bit RAW photos. It's really amazing to have a camera that fits in the palm of your hand like this, that's about the same size as my iPhone, that shoots 14-bit raw stills, not shoot raw video. Who are we kidding? It is really cool to have a camera that performs so well, that has great dynamic range, that can be pulled into Lightroom and treated just like a pro camera. You've got all the Canon RAW features using this camera, and it really makes this a wolf in sheep's clothing. Number five is 9 frames per second burst until the buffer fills up, which you could probably hear there. It's really nice to have, again, a small camera like this to take burst shots of your kids running around in the burst mode. Of course, having burst is always good for fast moving subjects. 9 frames per second is perfectly adequate, especially for a camera of this size. Number six, dual pixel autofocus. As you can see with the touch screen, using this camera, you get the amazing Canon dual pixel autofocus. I'm touching Connor, and I'm touching the background, and you can see the focus changing back and forth just like so. There's no hunting, it's perfect, and it's amazing. We're shooting on an 80D right now, filming me, and we're using the dual pixel autofocus right now. Hopefully it locked onto my face. Did it lock on? Yes. So it's just a really reliable autofocus system, and if you haven't used it, I highly recommend getting a Canon camera and trying it out, because once you use this autofocus system in either live view photo or video mode, you're really never going to go back. Whoops! I spilled water on my camera. Good thing this thing is number 7, weather resistant. Number 8, this thing has, hallelujah, a flip screen. I wish all cameras had this exact same flip screen. It's so nice. It's still weather resistant. It is fully articulating, touch screen. It's so great. Why can't every camera have this? The world would have peace if every camera manufacturer put a fully articulating screen on here. For those selfie shots, for those portrait mode shots, it's just the best. Number 9, this thing actually has a 3-stop ND filter inside the camera. Another thing that I wish every camera had, a built-in ND filter. Really handy to have when you're trying to do long exposure shots, or if you're shooting video and you need to stay at a certain shutter speed, really great to have a built-in ND filter. Number 10, the video on this thing is actually really good, Because this has an APS-C size sensor, you're looking at a Super 35 cinema sized sensor in a little camera that's the size of an iPhone. You've also got the dual pixel autofocus. I actually think this camera would be perfect on a little handheld gimbal like the Zhiyun Crane or something like that. This camera can max out at 1080p 60 frames per second, so you can do some slow motion. So really nice camera for video. Number 11 is image stabilization. Now, Canon calls it just optical image stabilization. They're not talking about sensor stabilization. So I do think it's all just kind of built into the lens here, but it is very good image stabilization. I was zoomed in all the way to 72 millimeters and I noticed that it was pretty solid, and especially for video, being able to kind of hand hold it and get some moves like so with the IS is really nice. So the image stabilization is great. That's going to help you when you're shooting at slower shutter speeds for stills, or obviously if you're doing movement shots with video. Number 12, this thing has Bluetooth along with Wi-Fi. Having Bluetooth means that it's constantly connected to your phone when it's within a close distance. So once you connect this to your app, if you're out and about, you've got your phone in your pocket, it's actually going to, through the Canon app, tag your GPS location from your phone linked to your cameras. The phone and the camera are actually communicating to each other back and forth in the background using Bluetooth. I really like that feature, and it's a cool way to kind of add GPS to this camera even though it doesn't have GPS built in. 13 is time-lapse. This camera has movie time-lapse built in. A lot of the other Canon cameras have this same feature, but again, it's nice to see it here. You can set the amount of time between each image that's taken. It also gives you the math on the bottom and tells you how long your clip is gonna be, which is really great. That way you don't have to punch it into a calculator and say, okay, I'm gonna wait 20 minutes, I'm gonna take 300 pictures, that equals how many minutes of video when it's all put together. It's nice that Canon puts all that on one page with their time lapse, and it's nice to have here. And because this is a great secondary or third camera, I would actually say if you're a video person in particular, buy one of these, stick it on a little Gorilla Pod, put it in the corner while you're doing a shoot and get some quick time lapse using this small, really nice camera here. Look, not everything is positive in this video because number 14 is no mic input. Why? Why Canon? Why would you make a camera that's just begging to have a mic input? Look at this. You got a flip out screen with dual pixel autofocus, large sensor. You've got this empty hot shoe up here that would be perfect for a little Rode microphone right there. All the vloggers would be just so happy about this camera if it had a mic input. Just a total pain in the butt. Canon always does this. They cripple their cameras so that you buy the more expensive cameras. I don't see why they wouldn't put a mic input on here other than protecting their lineup. No mic. And last but not least, number 15, no surprise, no 4K. No mic input, no 4K. If Canon just did those two things, this would be a vlogger's dream camera. Look how small this is. It's so light, under a pound, weighs nothing. Great lens, great sensor. They better start adding 4K to their cameras or they're gonna get their lunch eaten by Sony, Panasonic, and Fuji. So hopefully they will do that soon. With that, we hope that you enjoyed this top 15 things to know about the Canon G1X Mark III. If you have any questions about this camera, make sure to let us know in the comment section below. And please subscribe to the channel. We have lots of content coming your way. Once again, I'm Dave Altizer from Kinotika. See you next time.